Studying the psychology of crowd is one of the important sections that psychology has given special attention, and has studied it extensively in order to conclude the means and techniques by which public opinion is formed, and how the masses are led or directed in any way. Gustave Le Bon is one of the first who devoted a special study to this branch of knowledge through his famous book, The Crowd. Through this tracking and this study, he tried to understand the psychology through which the crowd move, their ways of thinking, and the ways that affect them and their decisions. The Crowd, by Gustave Le Bon. The word crowd means a gathering of individuals, whatever their nationality, profession or sex. As for the psychological point of view, the matter is completely different. The crowd means an agglomeration of men presents new characteristics very different from those of the individuals composing it, so that the crowd becomes subjected to the law of the mental unity of crowds. The spirit of crowd is that spirit that vanishes the conscious personality of individuals, and directs their feelings and thoughts in one direction, and once the psychological crowd is formed, it acquires general and temporary characteristics, but it can be sorted and identified. The strange thing about this spirit that forms the spirit of crowd is that whatever the type of individuals who make up this crowd, and whatever their affiliations or lifestyles are, once they are transformed into a crowd, that transformation removes these characteristics and replaces them with a kind of a collective spirit. And this collective spirit makes them think and feel in the same way. Therefore, we notice to what extent the individual involved in the crowd is different from the individual isolated from it. Bit to remember, the crowd moved the spirit of the group, not the spirit of the individual. When the individual becomes an element within a group, all the personal characteristics and elements that make up the individual vanishes when he becomes isolated. That is why the emotions and morals of the crowd are characterized by a set of characteristics. Perhaps the most important of them is being irritable, as the person within the group is guided by the subconscious, as the person here only acts according to incitement and agitation, so that he does not use his mind or his brain. Also, the crowd are mostly naive because they believe everything without thinking. The crowd always depends on the subconscious and willingly receives all the suggestions and orders. The emotions of the crowd do not stop at this point, but it reaches the point of making a big deal over nothing, no matter how simple. The emotions expressed by the crowd are characterized by a dual nature. On one hand, they are amplified emotions, and on the other hand, they are simplified emotions. This is what drives the crowd to be tyrannical towards the other who is different from them. The crowd know only simple and extreme emotions, and therefore they never tolerate those who have different opinions. Bit to remember, the crowd have special emotions and morals that tend towards extremism and militancy. Whatever ideas that may affect the crowd by incitement or implying, these ideas can only become dominant if they are simple. Simplicity is the dominant feature of the crowd's way of thinking, and in order for the ideas to be acceptable, they must undergo a complete change in order to gain popularity and acceptance among the crowd. That is why it is not always the logical ideas that affect their spread or acceptance by large groups of people. That is why when an idea is implanted in the crowd, getting rid of it becomes difficult and impossible. Here the idea becomes more powerful, and resisting it becomes very difficult, resulting in a number of results and consequences. We may say that mental arguments may sometimes be useful in persuading the crowd, but their effect remains mild if we compare it to others. Because the logical point of view has very low effects compared to others that target the emotions. Bit to remember, the crowd are controlled by emotion more than reason and logic. The crowd move and establish their beliefs as a result of a group of factors that determine their opinions and beliefs. These factors can be divided into two main parts: remote factors and immediate factors. Remote factors, such as race, and inherited traditions. The crowd are organisms, and like all organisms, the crowd can only be modified by slow hereditary accumulation. As for the immediate factors, they include slogans, The imagination of the public is affected by images in particular, and the power of words bound up with the images they evoke, and sometimes, the words whose meanings are difficult to determine are the ones that have the greatest power of influence. Among the immediate factors also, illusions. People tend toward illusions, as an insect tends towards light. Whoever knows how to deceive the crowd becomes their master, and whoever tries to remove these illusions becomes their victim. Bit to remember, the beliefs of the crowd are formed based on a group of factors.